Wow, that's absolutely disgusting. The video that you just saw was of a disabled U.S. Army veteran getting slobber-knockered by order followers because he, quote, wasn't wearing a face mask. Yes, the same order followers that were twiddling their thumbs when BLM was rioting and destroying private businesses. Now, there's some tough guys. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Okradowski of WeAreChange.org. A lot of important issues to get into, not just regarding the stimulus check, but specifically, I wanted to focus on the threat of authoritarianism, especially when it comes to the latest technological advancements and our current modern events, which correctly predicts a dystopian future. You know, just the typical easygoing, normal conversations and topics that we usually cover here on this independent media organization. But before jumping into that, a lot of people are, of course, talking about the $2,000 check that Donald Trump promised Americans. That, of course, is not going to happen. As we correctly told you, it wasn't going to happen. All the while, your tax dollars are mostly going to foreign countries, like getting speedboats for Sri Lanka and gender studies for Pakistan. And many Americans are just absolutely left dumbfounded, saying, what? Why? As, of course, the government is making it more difficult for people to make ends meet. And while all of this is happening, the IRS is literally sharpening its claws, and it's getting ready to destroy the last remaining small businesses that survived with a new plan to ramp up audits of small businesses by up to 50%. Yes, the International Revenue Services are expanding their audits of small businesses up to 50%, and they're hiring additional staff to expand their inspections. The same small businesses that have been hit hardest this year, not by a sickness, but because of government. All the while, the big box stores, all the multinational corporations like Walmart, Home Depot, and Amazon, they're allowed to be open while your business is closed, as they barely pay any tax, and now you're going to be footed the bill with the IRS on you like white on rice, literally trying to take out any business that survived this year. And again, many Americans don't want the redistributed stolen $600 that they're going to have to pay for one way or another. They don't want the $2,000 that literally they are paying for themselves. They just want government out of the way so they can keep their businesses open. And they can't, because of government that is literally prioritizing the super billionaire class that are gaining more and more scary economic power over our finances and ability to even be informed. And as Glenn Greenwald puts it, quote, the threat of authoritarianism in the United States is very real, and it has nothing to do with Donald Trump. And he is absolutely right. Now, before delving into his really good piece about exactly what's going on right now and the scary ramifications behind that, to keep this small business up and running, we need to work with other businesses that are doing good services that I think you might enjoy. And one of them that I personally use, that I personally like, is M Foods. They provide really good coffee, cacao, green powder drinks, a boatload of mushroom powders, chai teas. If you're a hippie, you will love this place. They have a whole bunch of good stuff, and by purchasing from our specific link down below, you make sure that we are up and running, and you also might get something that could possibly help you. So yeah, check out M Foods. The link is right in the description. Click on it right now and check out all the really cool products that they have after this show. Now, the piece by Glenn Greenwald, I would definitely recommend as a must read, especially for people to truly understand what is happening outside of the realm of the small mainstream media talking points and curated algorithm that don't want you to see and understand the picture that Glenn Greenwald is painting. A picture that, of course, is highlighting how, of course, the cornholio sickness has driven to the centralization of not only economic power, but also the power to control information in the hands of a few small corporate monopolies that truly do pose the biggest threat against any kind of political freedom. As he points out that billionaires have increased their wealth this year by 27.5% in just a span of a few months during the cornholio sickness, just as, of course, millions of people lost their jobs and lost a significant portion of their money. This is what people call a transfer of wealth, which is being orchestrated by the government. The rich this year became the richest that they ever have in recorded human history, amassing a fortune totaling $10.2 trillion. The previous record before this was $8.9 trillion in 2017. Meanwhile, small businesses are just absolutely being lambasted and destroyed left, right, and center by democratic, quote, caring governments that are making sure that you could only spend your money at the big box stores. This, of course, has led many corporate giants to thrive, enriching the rich, keeping the poor even poorer. Many of the people enriched are not just the heads of Amazon and Walmart. They also include doctors and scientists who, as covered by Forbes, actually became billionaires as well in 2020. Since, of course, the government is giving them a blank check, and to follow their words like gospel, like the words of Dr. Fauci, the same individual, by the way, that before this Conholio sickness spread across the world was working and financing the controversial Wuhan lab with US dollars to do gain-of-function risky research surrounding the Conholio sickness. Yes, Dr. Fauci, before the Conholio sickness outbreak, was literally financing gain-of-function research. This is specific research to weaponize and to make sicknesses as deadly and as dangerous as possible for absolutely no scientific value. There has not been one gain-of-function study that has led to any scientific breakthrough or discovery, with many people criticizing it, saying specifically this is a cover to create bioweapons. So yes, that Dr. Fauci, who was doing this specifically with the Conholio sickness before the outbreak, that told you not to wear masks, now is telling you to wear masks. The same Dr. Fauci that is moving the goalpost and has been caught in another lie about herd immunity. Yes, his word and many other experts' words are gospel. Don't you dare question it. They, of course, know what is right for you. And I don't know about you, but personally, I'm going to be a little bit skeptical when it comes to, anything that they say. And now we are seeing a new agenda unveiled. And this is something that, of course, we've been warning about for a very long time on this independent media broadcast. And that is the possibility of a Conholio sickness passport, which many elitist and institutional powers, including government, that are responsible for a lot of the pain and suffering this year, are pushing at an extensive level. Yahoo News even came out with a news article recently saying Conholio sickness jab passports being developed for travel in 2021. CNN just released also this article saying if you want to travel next year, you will need a jab passport, specifically outlining how the Common Trust Network, an initiative that has, quote, partnered with several airlines like Cathay Pacific, JetBlue, Lufthansa, Swiss Airlines, United Airlines, and Virgin Airlines, are working with hundreds of health systems across the United States and governments of Aruba to create the Common Pass app, which only doctors would be able to upload medical data regarding tests or proof of jabs, which would create a QR code which would allow you to travel, and without it, you wouldn't be able to. The budget airline Ryanair already started advertising similar initiatives with their new Jab and Go promotion special, saying that you could get up to 15% off travel after you, quote, jab and go. In Spain, the government has already announced that they will be documenting and putting individuals on lists who refuse to take the jab. And if you think the government's not going to use this opportunity to enrich themselves with more power and control over you, you're absolutely naive. We are already seeing initiatives like in New York City of school children being denied entry into New York City public schooling because they didn't consent to random Conholio sickness testing. Yes, if you're a student in New York City and you refuse with your parents to sign a consent form saying that the government could jab the back of your brain with a swab randomly whenever they want, you are refused entry to school, and up to 12,000 New York students have refused to do so. So already similar measures are being done with tests, and of course we should expect them to be done with the jab soon as well. And in my opinion, this is absolutely ridiculous. There have been previous recent sicknesses out there, like of course the quote killer flu in 2018, that of course led to a spike of 42% increase in deaths, and the government's response in 2018 was really just sit back and do nothing. Now, for some reason, the government that didn't have a care in the world about our personal well-being is now trying to tell us that they really do care about us. And of course, if that naive angle doesn't work on you, they're going to fearmonger you, just like we're seeing from the World Health Organization that is now promising a bigger sickness that is coming after the Conholio sickness itself. And again, when you look at institutions of power, they usually obfuscate blame for themselves and push the pain, the penalties, and any kind of responsibility on individuals that are usually not responsible for them. We've seen similar measures being pushed by climate change advocates, who, by the way, are saying right now that after the Conholio sickness passes, we should still keep some of these mandates preventing people from driving, keeping lockdowns to, quote, help the environment. Yes, there's chatter between the climate change community to keep all of these restrictions so we could, quote, fight climate change, which, by the way, 100 corporations are responsible for 71% of all global greenhouse emissions, while much of the blame is obfuscated from China and India that are responsible for the most of the world's pollution. But, according to CNN, you are responsible because you eat meat, you decide to drive a car, and you use home heat. Now, one of the reasons that this is absolutely mind-boggling is, of course, the news that we're getting surrounding this jab. There's a lot of important questions. There's a lot of important side effects. There's a lot of stories that have been coming out that should have you questioning the efficacy of this jab, as we're getting information from official sources that this jab doesn't prevent infection, doesn't prevent transmission, doesn't shorten hospitalizations, doesn't prevent or limit death. And again, this is all information that we're getting from the, quote, official sources, which is perplexing because there's even studies out there showing how asymptomatic transmission of the Conholio sickness doesn't occur. There was a recent study highlighting 10 million discoveries surrounding this particular case, showing that unless you're showing symptoms, you're not transmitting this sickness. And this is where this head-scratching conundrum comes in, because official sources say that you could still pass on this sickness after getting the jab and not having any symptoms. Again, something here just doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense, and it's important to point out some of these misnomers. But regardless of all of that, what you're seeing is non-stop 24/7 disinformation propaganda about how this jab is great, it's going to change everything, it's going to bring everything back to normal, and that you should definitely go out to get it, as we see from this article from Sky News about a patient receiving the jab for the second time. Again, you're going to need this jab more than once, according to the official sources. But there's absolutely a lot of propaganda, no matter where you go, of individuals bragging and boasting how they took this experimental rust jab that people are showing some side effects from. In Germany, a healthcare worker was just sent to the hospital after getting an overdose of the jab. There's many people showing severe allergic reactions when they didn't have a history of allergies. A 75-year-old man just recently died of a heart attack after receiving this jab in Israel. And again, these are isolated incidences. Correlation does not prove causation, but we should be looking at these stories and, of course, keeping an eye on them and tracking them, since, of course, this is something that is essentially an experiment. It takes 10 to 15 years to develop a jab. To think that we have a safe and effective one in 6, one of its first of its kind ever, is a little bit naive. We're also finding out that an ER nurse just tested positive for the Conholio sickness just 8 days after receiving a jab for the Conholio sickness. How's that possible? How does that make sense? And instead of the blind trust put out by propaganda efforts, we should have some very serious questions here, as of course the Daily Beast even correctly points out that these jab passports are just big tech dystopian nightmares come to life. As they say in their byline, surveillance vendors are quick to insist on expensive, high-tech solutions that aren't always compatible with privacy or freedom, and often don't solve the problem we're facing. And even though I don't always agree with the editorializing of the Daily Beast, I think they absolutely hit the nail on the head here. Their article is definitely worth a read, since they're one of the few institutions able to sound the alarms about the larger privacy concerns when it comes to big tech monopolies working with governments, track tracing and databasing individuals as they're giving them rushed experimental jabs into their their arms. Yeah, I'm sorry. Am I the only one concerned by this? If you are, share this video with your friends and family members. It is more essential and important than ever. Your involvement is crucial. Sharing this video is just one easy, quick way to do that. Click on the link, double tap on the URL on the top of your browser, go to your messenger feed or your DM feed, start scrolling randomly, and just send it to a random person without saying anything. I'm curious what they're going to say back to you. Send me those responses down in the comment section below. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, and this is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.